This is a 1957 Ford Thunderbird E-Code. And it's comfortable. I've often said that, in order to really enjoy a car, to enjoy driving a car, you have to want to drive it. You have to want to sit in it. You have to want to be in it. There are always adherents to one brand or another, and of course the greatest brand rivalry that probably exists on the earth is Ford versus Chevy. And people are either Ford guys or they're Chevy guys. I guess I would be a Ford guy. That's not to say there aren't some Chevys that I absolutely love, but the car that I'm driving right now reinforces my Ford guyness. This is a 1957 Ford Thunderbird E-Code. And it's one of those things that when you get into the Ford versus Chevy, and especially T-Bird versus Corvette conversation, it generally comes down to, well, the Corvette is a sports car and always has remained a sports car, and the Thunderbird is something else. Even Ford called it a personal luxury car. Some people say because they didn't want it to be compared to the rough and ready sports cars of the mid-1950s, and that was absolutely the case. They wanted to build something altogether more refined, but that still had that sense of adventure and power and fun. And I think they succeeded in a remarkable way. I've always been a fan of, strangely enough, the Square Birds, the cars that followed this 57 Thunderbird and really changed Thunderbird and put it on the trajectory that it would remain on for the rest of its production until the retro Thunderbird was introduced in 2002, returning it to its two-seater roots. Well, sort of. And although I love these cars deep in my heart, and a 55 Thunderbird is on the list that I have, that I must own. Everyone tells me, well, of course, 57s are much better. More trunk space, more room inside, just generally a better balanced car than the 55. And they're certainly right. This is a much more comfortable environment to be in than in the 55, but there's certain romance to the sort of tightness of the design of the 55, but I digress. Getting back to this specifically, this car, which is a real high-performance car. And again, if we think about sports cars in a totally different way, think about sports cars in a specifically 1950s American way, where a sports car was something that was not a big sedan. It was something that could be a bit faster and a bit more agile on its feet. And this certainly succeeds at both of those attributes. First of all and foremost, it's a powerful car. The E-Code car is equipped with their two 4-barrel Holley carburetors, put out 272 horsepower and 338 foot-pounds of torque, which is quite something and gives you a lot of entertainment on the road. Now, the legendary F-Code, the ultimate 57 Thunderbird, is a 300 horsepower car that's an absolute monster, but it's also incredibly rare. There are only 200 of those built against about 1,500 of these. And compared to the performance of the Corvette, I mean, Zora Arkhov-Duntov, father of the Corvette, must have been absolutely ecstatic when Ford introduced the Thunderbird, because it completely and totally outclassed the Corvette in performance and refinement. And he got to do the things with the Corvette that he always wanted to do, so the Corvette finally got a V8 engine in place of the Blue Flame 6 and started to become the performance car that would be. The other thing about Thunderbirds, and specifically this car, the E-Code with a 3-speed manual transmission, is a car that hustles. And if anyone says that this is not a performance car, maybe it's not a sports car, but they say it's not a performance car, they haven't driven one. It's got also terrific brakes to go with the Go. It makes a wonderful sound. And it's comfortable. I've often said that, you know, in order to really enjoy a car, to enjoy driving a car, you have to want to drive it. You have to want to sit in it. You have to want to be in it. And this is a car that you can spend a lot of time in. I've got some friends that have done vintage rallies in Thunderbirds, and I get it, because you've got all the power you need to climb mountains, you've got the handling to handle the curves, and you've got comfort and space. Now, the other thing about the myth of the Thunderbird not being a sports car is the fact that these cars were raced. From 55 on, they regularly appeared at Daytona Speed Weeks, and of course the famous Battlebird, the great supercharged, the ultimate 57 Thunderbird, was an amazingly powerful car. And indeed, even in road races, one quite famous one where a Battlebird came in second only to Carroll Shelby in a 4.9 Ferrari. But these cars are also drag raced, and if you look at the old films of SCCA racing, you will see Thunderbirds alongside 300 SL Gullwings and Corvettes and Porsches on the grids. And these are cars that can entertain you in a very surprising way and have a wonderful duality. So if you just want to putter along, get some ice cream, go to the movies, you can do that in this car too. But when you want to get on it, it goes. One of the things that is sort of surprising, but not really so, is the fact that its nature as a sports car is somewhat hidden. This example here in the Audrain collections is clearly aimed at somebody who wanted a performance car. As I said before, it's got the 3-speed manual, it's an E-Code, it's got wind-up windows, a manual seat. So it's not the cruiser to the golf club that you could have with the Thunderbird with the power windows, power seat, and all of that. So clearly this is aimed at a slightly different target. And yet, it still has that presence, dare I say the elegance, that every Thunderbird should have. When you put your foot in this car on a nice, straight, smooth road, it delivers. And they say that it's dangerous sometimes to meet your heroes. And one of my heroes is the 55 to 57 Thunderbirds. And this car fulfills all of my hero dreams. I understand what this is all about. Henry Ford is a great lover of sports cars. And he wanted to have a sports car for Ford. And his vision as realized in this Thunderbird is absolutely brilliant. He had a little bit of a flirtation with Cisitalia to build a sports car for Ford, and it didn't work out because they didn't need it. The folks in Detroit knew what they were doing, and they created this wonderful car.